What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again. Hope you all are doing well. This time we got John Bush from the almighty Armored Saint. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
What's up, Alex? What up, Big Apple?
It's great to have you here, man. I mean, you're out in LA, so I feel like we're like the actual Twin Cities right now, because I think New York and LA are experiencing quite similar elements during this whole time.
Yeah, it's big cities have been affected. I know New York has been affected really bad, but it seems like things have gotten better there, which is a good thing. California had its highest cases of deaths the other day, which is like disheartening because you want to see. I thought we were supposed to get better in the summer, and then everything started getting like that. The fall was supposed to get better, and then here it is, summer, and it's like the worst. So that's not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope things get better. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Exactly.
Yep. But on a more positive note, we finally got a brand new Armored Saint album coming out, Punching the Sky. Do you want to talk about like what the thought process was making this album? Were you intending to make like a follow-up to Win Hands Down? Is this like a new start for Armored Saint? How did Punching the Sky sort of come to be?
Well, this is a record that comes 5 years on the heels of the last one. And we probably would like to move a little sooner in making records if we could. And in a perfect world, we would do it. I marvel at the way the bands used to do it in the 70s. They would make an album every year, and it seems like that. I don't know how they did it, but in the end, we would like to. I wouldn't necessarily want to move quicker in the terms of quality is really the most important thing. Obviously, it's not like, hey, we got to make a record every year. Let's put out 10 crappy songs and let's do it. But that's not, of course, the objective. But at the same time, it would be cooler to move a little quicker than every 5 years because I'm not 25, but that's just the way it is. And in the end, I think we just want to make sure that we make a great record, because really at the end of the day, when it's all said and done and we're toast and in the ground, you want to look back on the legacy of music and go, yeah, those are some great records.
Definitely. Could the first single that you released, End of the Attention Span, almost serve as like a clear representation of what this whole album is going to sound like, or is this just the tip of the iceberg, as I like to say?
I think that End of the Attention Span was a great lead track. We actually gave the label had the record, and we asked them, pick your favorite songs. What do you think we should run with? Where should we start with this? They're the label. They're the ones who are going to be working it. So we kind of wanted to put it in their hands, and it seemed to be pretty unanimous that everybody thought The End of the Attention Span should be the first song. I think it kind of it has this old school Armored Saint feeling, as well as it sounds very new. It sounds current, but it also kind of, the riffs sound like something you'd hear, maybe even a couple of people have said it, not even me, that says it sounds like something you'd hear maybe on Raising Fear. So I was like, well, that's cool. That's, it sounds like you're paying tribute to the old school style, but you're also, it sounds like a record and the power of 2020. So it was a good start off track, and we made a really great video with it. And obviously the lyrical content is pretty appropriate for what's happening currently in society. So I was stoked about having a little social commentary, and that's always fun for me.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. Could you tell me can you give me that answer again? I'm kidding.
I'm sorry, I was a little distracted. My son is misplaced his computer, or my daughter's computer, and my wife is asking me to help try to find it. I'm like, I'm in the middle of an interview here. I don't know where it is. So, sorry. That's my attention span. So.
Very, very appropriate. I think you released the most appropriate first single. This will be the soundtrack to 2020.
I'm being distracted trying to find a computer. There you go. Do I need to say any more?
That's the headline of this interview.
Right.
Now, being that you mentioned that there was some like old school influences, so for a lot of people who have been following you, since March of the Saint and Delirious Nomad, like could that almost like maybe be like, does it kind of have like a throwback element in that way, sort of?
I think that it's important to always reflect back on your past. I've said this many times, but you want to obviously stay true to your style and the origins of the group, but you have to move forward because, the last thing I want to do is be stuck in a time warp of 1986. I loved 1986. It was great. I love the 80s. They were amazing. Nothing but fun. But the memories that I have of them, because some of it was, a little bit kind of impaired, but I do love them. But I'm not 2020 and I'm living now, so I don't want to kind of go, oh yeah, it's only about the 80s, dude. That's it. The rest of my life is going to be this 1984 to 1988, and that's it. No, man, I can't live like that. So, nor do I want to. I wouldn't want people to want me to. So, that being said, I think that you kind of reflect what's the style, and then where can we go from here to advance that. And I think that the Saint does that pretty amazingly because we make records that sound true to the style, but we're not afraid to push the boundaries. We're not afraid to use lots of different instruments. We're not afraid to use different instrumentations or arrangements. Expand on the vocals. Certainly, lyrically, I'm never afraid to tackle any topic. I think we just want to keep growing. So as long as it sounds sincere and honest, I think for the most part people dig it. So as long as you're not doing something. I'm not trying to convince the public that, this is the new Armored Saint song and it's a dance track that kind of, sounds a little bit like shades of Katy Perry or, like we're not going to do that. It's going to be what we do. It's just going to be hopefully pushing us.
Yeah, I think you have the best of both worlds because, like, if you do the same thing every time, a lot of people are going to say, oh, they're repetitive, they do the same thing. But if you experiment too much, they're going to say you're directionless and all over the place. So it almost seems like Armored Saint really has the best of both worlds and staying true to who you are, but also demonstrating evolution. Sure, like, I don't think, each album is a continuation of the last album. I think it's just a continuation of your evolution.
Yeah, well, you've complimented me greatly by saying all that, and you're right on the money. I think we keep ourselves somewhat in check. We're not gonna, like, if we sat there and went, really, I don't know about that. We would be honest with ourselves. We know what we can do, and what we probably shouldn't do. It sounds like something that is just too far fetched. You can say that for your own little solo project one day, but in the end, I think that we were fans of bands. When we started playing music, and Queen was like one of our favorite bands, and Queen is probably one of the most diverse. There will never be a band like that ever again in the history of music because they were the most ballsiest band in taking chances. They would have a song like Brighton Rock and then a song like The Millionaire Waltz. It's like, what? They just did those things, and they could pull it off, and very few people could do that. But or pretty much nobody can, really, in all honesty. But we're not trying to do that because, well, one, I can't pull out The Millionaire Waltz because I'm not Freddie. But we do want to say, hey, can you sing differently to make this song sound different? Can you change the tempo of the song to do something that sounds different? Like, I make the joke that, Last Train Home is really a salsa beat. That's what it is. It's like something you hear in a salsa song, but, we put it in a rock song. So thinking like that, it's trying those kind of things. It's always trying to mess around with arrangements that, or instrumentations that I think kind of makes music a little bit more timeless, and at the same time pushes you. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing cooler too than just guitar, bass, drums, vocals. Like, that's awesome too. You know, it just depends on what the song requires. If the song requires heavy hitting thumping over the head, rocks track, just pounding, great. If the song is kind of begging for multi-layer vocals and numerous guitar parts, then that's great too. Or keyboards, we're willing to do it. I remember back in the day, all it was about was, can I do this live? Can I sing this live? If I can't sing this live, then I'm not putting it on a record. Well, we don't think that way anymore. Now it's like, I'll figure it out. Well, just let's make a record that sounds like a record, and then when it comes to live, we'll figure it out.
So it's not like you really enter the studio or enter the songwriting process with too much of a preconceived idea of what you want to do. You kind of let things sort of organically fall into place.
I would think that's the best thing. I say this, and maybe it sounds a little like arrogant, and I don't mean it. Nothing is more annoying than some pompous musician, believe me. And I don't want to be that. But you want to kind of, in a weird way, it kind of starts writing itself. Now, maybe Joey would disagree with me, and he's a big part of the writing process because he creates a lot of the music. But in a weird way, I think you start off, and then you get the ball rolling, and the train starts moving, and then boom, it starts hitting its stride, and then it just kind of happens, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh, we got 10 songs or whatever, and we've got a flow now. And then you find a way for it to all kind of blend. Obviously, the sequence is, well, for those who still like listening to records, and I think a lot of metalheads do, of course, so that's really pivotal as well, is to have a cool sequence of your record. But organic is the perfect word for it, because it should kind of just happen. I mean, again, taking chances, not being afraid to do that, and kind of testing the listener, testing the fan base. Can you follow along on this, or are you going to resist, or are you going to go, yeah, that's cool, you opened my eyes up to this kind of thing, and I never really thought I'd like a song like this, but you pulled it off.
Definitely. As a vocalist, have you always needed to hear music to come up with lyrics, or has there ever been a time where you presented like a lyrical theme or a subject matter to the rest of the band, and maybe that could help dictate the direction of the music?
Well, actually, Phil came up with the title "End of the Attention Span," so I want to give him props for that. And I thought it was a great title, and it seemed like an easy thing to write to, so we did. I have a book of phrases, lyrics, lines, and usually the music inspires something. So, like, I'll hear something of the music, and then I'll kind of scan my journal of lyrics or my notebook, and then I'll say, oh, that sounds like that could work for this, and then that'll kind of start the ball rolling. Probably I've had a few ideas in the past and said, hey, this is an idea for a song, and then it'll trigger something. But it just depends. A lot of the time it's just about hearing something and going, that sounds appropriate for this particular song, so let's go there. And I love writing lyrics. I feel like it's something I can do still pretty well, and I enjoy it. Luckily it comes fairly easy to me, knock on wood. I really, like I said, I really enjoy doing it, because it's the one thing that is like my major contribution in the band. Obviously singing is one, but writing lyrics is just something that I just really cherish doing.
Yeah, a lot of people assume that just because somebody is the singer, that means they write all the lyrics. But I know that Elton John, I don't think, writes any of his lyrics. He writes the songs, but not the lyrics. So, like, lyric writing and singing, I think, are two completely separate talents. Have you ever had like the best?
Geezer Butler wrote all the lyrics in Black Sabbath.
Yeah. So, there you go. So have you ever had like the best lyrics ever, and like they're always like one syllable over or under the arrangement, and you have to that's got to be so frustrating, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you we could probably talk in length about that particular subject. Making something fit lyrically and vocally to a particular musical piece, that's a challenge, and that's something that's it's like a riddle in itself. So I have sometimes a tendency to overwrite. I try to pull myself in with that a little bit, but that's a goal, is to, you hear something and go, oh, I had the perfect kind of idea for this, but it's just a little too long. Let me see, I can edit that. Or even Joey, when we're recording something, he'll be like, wow, that's just so lengthy. And, like, okay, maybe we could take out end. That's fine. We don't need end. So get it out of there. So, but it's fun. I really try to, most importantly, what I try to do is not recycle lyrics, not use the same lyrics, not use the same words.
Thank you.
It's not easy to do. It's always a challenge. But I do try to do that. If I hear something I've used before, and I've done it, of course, I'll be like, oh man, I used that word. And, to me, one of my favorite tools is using a thesaurus. So, because I'll be like, I want to say this, but I don't want to use that word, so let me find out a word I could use. Can that fit in grammatically, and can that fit in as far as just sound? Does that sound right? Those are all the true challenges of being a songwriter. But it's fun. I always find it fun. But luckily for me, I haven't got to the point where I can't think of another thought and I can't move this song forward. And I don't feel that way. Things have kind of happened pretty well still when it comes to writing songs, which is great.
In order to get into that creative process when it comes to writing lyrics or writing melodies, do you almost kind of need to be in a certain place? You have a usual atmosphere that you have to be in, or a usual mood, or does inspiration sometimes just come out of nowhere?
Well, I think that if you're in the state of mind that you're writing songs, like say, it's funny. Over the last couple of records, actually, I've written a lot of the lyrics in my car. I make the joke that the minivan. Well, we've had a couple different minivans over the years, and that's what works best for our family. But they always have a really good sound system. The current one we have just kills it. And it's like a minivan, but blast. So a lot of ideas come from listening to the songs that we're working on in the car, and then I'll pull over because I don't want to kill me or other drivers on the road. But you might come up with an idea, so then I pull over and I'll pull out my book and then I'll kind of write it down, and then that might lead to a whole verse or something because something triggered it. So. It's been a productive way of working, and I don't know. Like I said, it's just that being in the car has been a place where I've actually got a lot of accomplished lyric writing in.
Yeah, that LA traffic can definitely give you a lot of anger to express.
Right. I mean, you certainly want to be careful. You don't want to stop, be in the middle of the road and try to write when you're actually on the freeway. I mean, I have done that, and it's probably pretty stupid. But I'll try to just pull over and go, okay, that's it. Which, I guess I should recommend for anybody who feels the inclination to send a text. I have to send this text. It's okay, just pull over, man. Just pull over, and then you can... And then you send your text, or you can write your lyric, and then I can get back on the way.
Fair enough. I have two more questions for you. But when it comes to, I've had the privilege of seeing Armored Saint live on countless occasions. Always a great show, and I've also got to see you perform with Metal Allegiance on multiple occasions as well.
Oh, cool.
When it comes to playing live, is there maybe a similar energy into playing live as you are when you're songwriting, or is playing live and songwriting almost two completely separate arts altogether? Because I know you mentioned, in the songwriting process, you kind of taken into account on how this is going to sound live, so I thought maybe something could tie the two together.
Well, again, back in the day, I used to think that way of, how is this going to translate live? I'm not so concerned about that. These days, I think that you find a way to make it work. I mean, you want it to sound close to what it is live. That's I think that what we all strive to do, and I think that that's something that I want to do. I don't want to be like, oh, well, we have 5 guitar parts on the record. And we can't do anything near that. So it's gonna put this song might sound a little bit like flat because of it. No, I mean, you want it to sound as close as you can to the studio recording, but you're playing live is going to feel different. It's going to channel different feelings when you're actually singing certain parts. So, for instance, background vocals. I sometimes I have to overlap parts where the background vocals have to come in and kind of take over for my part, so I can go to another section. It's something you do easily on a record, but you have to figure out how to do that live. Those are the certain little transitions that you have to have everybody be part of. And we've never really had a bunch of background vocals or something on tape. I wouldn't want to do that because I don't think that's our style, as much as it probably sound better at times, but I just don't think that's kind of our style. So certain things just might be missing live that you have on records. But as long as it just feels like you're giving everything you got and you're doing something that sounds sincere, then I think that's all that really matters. Hearing a live performance, although everything's on YouTube the next day or even hours later, you can't have a bad gig anymore. Oh, that was a bad gig. Okay, thank God no one's going to see it. No, a bunch of people are going to see it in a matter of hours, probably.
Yeah.
So that's just it's pretty daunting. You're like, oh my God, oh no, But hey, that's life. Whatever, no big deal. Because, like I said, playing music is something that you just you can't worry too much about. It's a fleeting moment, if you will, playing a performance, whereas recording is something that will last forever.
Yeah.
So I think playing live is a whole different beast, and I love it, and it's fun, but it's there, and then after a couple hours it's over. A record is immortal.
Yeah, I've always said that that's the one advantage of having phones at shows every night. People want to say, everybody's looking at their phone, blah, blah. I could get that side of the argument. But I think that people recording the shows with their phones and everything has kind of almost pushed them to make sure that their A game is on every single night. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, especially as a singer, I think sometimes you have a bad night. Sometimes your voice is just not where it was. So you have to kind of deal with that. And it's a little scary, frustrating, a little bit naked, if you will. But that's the way it is. That's the new world that we're in, and I don't let that keep me up at night. I just maybe try to avoid that gig. When I'm looking back on YouTube, it's like, oh, I remember this gig. Skip. But what are you gonna do, man? Athletes. I equated it all with athletes. One night, Kawhi Leonard of the Clippers is going to have a bad night. He's going to shoot bad. He's going to, make a lot of turnovers. I'm a big basketball fan, so, sometimes you're just not going to have a good game. And that's just life. Doesn't mean you're not a great player. Doesn't mean you're not a great singer. It just means that tonight you had a bad night. And that's the way. I think it's honest, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's something to be said. I remember I watched James Hetfield on Joe Rogan, and he said that when he goes to a show and somebody, fucks up a note, he says, hey, at least it's real.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. I mean, to me, I'd rather hear that. Music should not be perfect. Music is complete. Am I perfect? I'm not a perfect human being by far. So why do I want to hear music that's perfect? I don't want to hear that. I want to hear mistakes. I honestly do. I want to hear, tempo fluctuations. I want to hear a note maybe that's not quite in pitch. To me, that makes it sound authentic. That makes it sound real. I use Led Zeppelin as an example. I mean, because Zeppelin live, man, they sometimes were terrible.
Yeah.
But it was them. So I mean, The only thing I try to avoid, or I would like to avoid in my band, is a complete train wreck where literally you almost have to start the song over again because it's just everybody's off that much. But you know what? If it happened, you probably laugh it off and go, "Holy shit, that was terrible. Let's start over again." And if you're a fan and you saw that, it would be kind of cool because it would be kind of like, "Wow, look at this," and you knew it was live. How many bands you see, artists you see live, that is just is just fake, and
Yeah.
it's not real, and that happens a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the final question I wanted to ask you is just one little fun question, because I think today is a really good, important day in heavy metal history, because we're celebrating the anniversary of Painkiller by Judas Priest, Power Slave by Iron Maiden, Horoscope by Overkill, like so many great metal albums. Do you have any memories with those particular albums, such as Power Slave or Painkiller, or did they ever influence you in a way?
Oh yeah, Power Slaves is a great record. It's awesome. Come on, Rhyme of Ancient Mariner, right? It's like one of the longest songs. Was it like 18 minutes, or how long is that song? 14 minutes or something?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great album. It in particular. I think that it's funny. I think of like that album as being like one of the early Maiden records, but it really was so much later. But there's so many classic songs. Aces High, right? And
Yep.
so I mean, it sounds like something that came out way back in the day, but it was in the middle of Maiden's career, pretty much, right? Maybe a little later. So some great songs on it, really cool. 2 Minutes to Midnight. It's a good album.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you can't neglect Painkiller, that was released on this day.
Painkiller, well, that was like Priest's thrash record, and certainly that song in particular, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Really enjoyed this discussion. Just obviously, thanks to a certain virus that shall not be named, obviously, shows aren't happening at the moment. But when all this is over, eventually, I'd imagine we'll be seeing Armored Saint on the road quite a bit, right?
We'd love to come to New York. I love New York. We've had some great gigs there. Always have a fun time being in the city, and we want to play. You make a new record, you love the new songs, you want to play it live, and to not be able to play it live is very weird and bizarre. So we look forward to getting that opportunity. Hopefully, when this virus we won't mention goes away.
Definitely. But thank you so much, John. Everybody, we are here with John Bush of the almighty Armored Saint. Be sure to pick up the new album, Punching the Sky, out on Metal Blade Records this October. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.